Good afternoon. I'm Elizabeth George, Director of Member Engagement and Chapter Development with the American Guild of Organists. And I am very excited to invite you to today's webinar, Reigniting, Reimagining, and Re-emerging from COVID-19, that is being hosted by the Committee on Membership Development and Chapter Support, or as we used to call it, or we still do call it, COMDAX, a lot easier to say. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. As with all our webinars, this is being recorded, and we will have it uploaded under the Education tab on our homepage, probably within the next 48 hours. We'll send all of our chapter leaders a link so that they can access the recording. You are muted, but we want to hear from you. We really want to hear from you today. This is going to be such an engaging, interactive webinar. So I'm sure by now you all know where the Q&A icon is. It's at the bottom of your screen. Please post your questions in the Q&A box. And Connor McMain, who is a member of the COMDAX committee and sub-dean of the Dallas chapter, will be serving as moderator. So this is a really unique webinar because it's being produced by chapter leaders for chapter leaders. And this all came about because during the 17, yes, there were 17 concurrent breakouts of each night of Leadership 2021, some very special people shared some very special ideas. They were innovative, they were different, they were fun, they were unique, and they were collaborative. And we sought these people out at the suggestion of COMDAX and Wayne Peterson, who is our chair, and said, wouldn't it be great to do a follow-up webinar so that everyone who couldn't attend our virtual conference could hear about what they're doing? So the format of today is we have recorded these wonderful, wonderful chapter leaders. They've recorded a video, we've edited them all together. So we're going to present the video, and then we have two participants who will be presenting live. And on top of everything else, what's really wonderful is everybody that's in the video is also here as a panelist. So it makes me super excited. I hope you will be too. So again, we want to hear from you. Please post your questions at the conclusion of the presentations. And now I am going to very successfully share my screen.
Hello friends, Judy Connolly, Mid-Atlantic Region Education Chair. I'm here to tell you about an exciting COVID time project presented by my home chapter in Winchester, Virginia. AGO chapters are often known as a group of highly skilled professionals with tremendous creativity. More importantly, we are more than able to develop a presence in any community and should do so at every opportunity. Benefit concerts for homeless shelters or food banks are great ways to reach beyond ourselves to help others and to establish that community presence. Why community presence? Name recognition, promoting the mission of AGO. Increased networking provides opportunity to make new connections. Connections lead to increased publicity. Nonprofit organizations that depend on donations for existence, often have a huge database. If you schedule early, you have the possibility of being on publicity that goes to thousands of people. And lastly, helping people, supporting the mission of the church. In 2020, during COVID, the Winchester chapter replaced the in-person Christmas concerts with a virtual program benefiting WATS, that stands for Winchester Area Temporary Thermal Shelter, and Winchester Rescue Mission, two local homeless shelters. It was a virtual lessons and carol service in two parts. The clergy from 15 area churches served as readers. Several of our members, along with local instrumentalists, played seasonal recital music. In addition, many pictures of the churches and their ministries were collected and made into a video that is played as each church and organist appeared on the screen. The entire masterpiece was put on our website from Advent through Epiphany, complete with buttons to click and donate to these charities. Astonishing results followed when it posted on our website. In previous years, our in-person recital audience had averaged 1 to 200 persons. During COVID, we experienced over 500 views. Our charities reported donations nearly tripled. In 2021, as COVID hopefully becomes less threatening, the chapter will continue to build on its community presence. The March program, recently placed on our website, is a virtual program of our favorite hymns. In May, we will be hosting an in-memory concert, remembering the victims of COVID-19. It too will be virtual and post May 15 through June 15. Life is all about relationships, the connections we make. As a new normal evolves, let us connect and reconnect like never before. Go in peace.
Hi, my name is Ron Sidhu. I'm the Dean of the Sacramento Valley Chapter. When creating your chapter budget, allocate part of the budget for virtual programming production and live streaming. Our chapter came to realize this last summer, after we had to shut down the season's programming, we recognized that we had to produce a virtual season to keep our commitment to our members. We started with an opening concert that we shared expenses with the church where it was hosted, and we hired a local videographer who also streamed live concerts. It did require an extra $300 for this production. And so I recommend looking for local people who are already associated with the church's live streaming service. Your chapter members probably know people working for their own church. We found a whole new way of making new friends and members by this budget. We had over 270 people at our first live concert, more than could fit in the church, and now over 700 people have viewed this first video production of ours. Finding the success with these first two productions, we are this week approving an $800 production cost on top of the artist fee for our April virtual concert with Dr. Ryan Enright. This includes 2 people on 3 cameras and lighting. They will produce the video and recording, and we are also using their YouTube account to live stream. If you do not have an account to live stream on, use a church's, as we did with our first one, or the video production companies, as we are now. Our workshops are live streamed on Facebook, and there's no cost for that. However, for these more intimate productions, test the audio stream and lighting first to make sure everything looks and sounds good. You will need to do some research by talking to video producers about costs, presenting it to the board, and incorporating them into your season concert budget. The benefit is more than a one-time production cost. Afterwards, we link the video to our website, sacvalley.org, so the money you spend in this budget will keep on reaping dividends into the future. As this takes some preparation in the allocation of chapter funds, and the officers should be in agreement. The sky is the limit, so dream big. Increase your audiences and your membership as we did. Stay focused. Design a workable budget for video production, and you will succeed.
Hi, I'm Jane Johnson, Dean of the Lexington, Kentucky Chapter AGO. I want to tell you about an upcoming program that we have scheduled. Typically, during the program year, we have an organ and choral reading session for our members where we contact a publisher and get copies of new music. We might have music for organ and instruments, or we might focus on a particular season of the church year. Since we couldn't have our traditional reading session this year, some of our members decided that we should do a virtual session. So that's what we've done. Lynn Vera, who's our communications head of our committee, has agreed to put together a video showcasing music of Easter. And so our members are submitting videos from their home churches or their homes looking at music that they like, both organ and choral. Since we couldn't contact publishers and have actual copies of music to give to our members, we've done what we hope is the next best thing. And each of our performers will talk a little bit about the music before they actually play or conduct it. This way, people viewing the video will know the edition and where they might be able to get the music and so forth. Lynn has agreed to put everything together in a video, much like she did for our Christmas Pipes member concert. When we came up with the idea for this virtual program, it was about the time that AGO National was putting on a leadership summit, and the focus of that summit was collaboration. So we had the idea we should maybe reach out to friends in other chapters around the country and see if they'd like to participate. So that's what we did. And I'm happy to report that we have 7 different AGO chapters whose members are helping out with this program for us. Easter Exaltations will debut during Easter week. It will be posted on our chapter's Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel. So we hope that you'll give it a look. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Melanie Randall, and I am the Dean of the chapter in Austin, Texas. We have a mid-sized chapter, about 50 members. Now, Austin is the live music capital of the world, with Austin City Limits and South by Southwest. But we're finding that there's not a lot of knowledge in the community base about the organ. And so we have this great idea that we want to bring the organ to the community. We have an organ that we want to put on a trailer and take around to schools and to parks and have pop-up recitals all over the city. Before we do this, we want to see how it works. And so we actually have a plan that the first weekend in May, we're going to bring the organ to a park next to a downtown church. And we're going to set it up, and we have a couple of people who will be performing. And we want to encourage the community members who are just going to happen by this church to stop and to ask questions and to look at the organ. The area of this church, it has a lot of foot traffic, and so we feel like this will be a good opportunity for people to be exposed to the organ who might not necessarily otherwise. We also will advertise it among the chapter and among the community, but we want to be careful because of COVID. So this is an experiment right now, and we're just going to see what happens. And hopefully with this experiment, we'll know how to move forward with our larger plan to bring the organ to the community. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Wayne Peterson, and I'd like to share a program idea that worked well at my chapter in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and may be of use to you. Every Sunday, many people in our chapter demonstrate musical skill in church that is commensurate with the expertise required to pass the Guild's Service Playing Certificate exam. Yet folks are reluctant to step forward for professional certification. To help demystify the exam, which is recorded and taken locally, a colleague and I presented a mock test. He served as the proctor, giving verbal instructions, and I was the candidate at the organ. We attempted to make this entertaining, substituting the standard repertoire and hymns with the beer barrel polka and preludes from PDQ Bach's Ill-Tempered Clavier. And the transposition example slithered through multiple keys. Despite the light-heartedness of the program, 2 members were inspired to pursue examination within months of the presentation. If you would like to see my script, I'd be happy to share it with you. My email address is music@trinityfw, as in Fort Wayne, .org. music@trinityfw.org. I wish you well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Laura Ramsey Russell, and I am the Dean of the Central Hudson Valley Chapter of the American Guild of Organists. I'm very excited to tell you about our experience with the AGO Achievement Awards. Our chapter was one of 4 chapters selected nationally to be field testing sites for the Achievement Awards. And the Central Hudson Valley Chapter is the first one in the nation to have members study for and successfully complete the Achievement Awards. On January 26th, 2020, at our annual Spuds and Sundays event, 3 teenage organ students were presented with official AGO certificates of completion for portions of the Achievement Awards. 2 students successfully completed console and registration awards, and 1 other student completed all 5 portions of the awards: console, technique, registration, harmony 1, and transposition 1. In addition to high school students, we had quite a few members of our chapter who are part-time organists. They were either pianists who became church organists, or they were organists who had never really studied organ on the college level. And we were able to find mentors to work with these adult students to help them fill in the gaps in their musical background. It turned out that this January program was the last program we were able to present live because COVID shut us down just a month later. During COVID tide, we have not been able to continue in-person contact between mentors and students, obviously, but we hope to continue doing that once we are able to meet again.
Hello, my name is Nathan Lively. I serve as cantor at St. John's Lutheran Church in Stamford, Connecticut, located in the southwest corner of the state just outside New York City. And I am the Director of Communications for the Fairfield West chapter of the AGO. We are now into a year of what many in our world call COVID tide. It's been a year of pivoting both on and off the bench. Most of us are drained by the workload in our parishes, and other projects and duties collect dust. Chapter programming is perhaps most challenging right now. If you're like me, you're tired of virtual recitals, either attending or recording them. Many chapters are doing organ crawls or this or that, but what are the smaller chapters doing? Fairfield West is a smaller chapter, and we're on the fringes of a metro area. Programming in small chapters is always an issue, but what are we to do now? Keeping engaged is important. Life is virtual and will remain so in some capacity for some time, if not always. While attending the AGO Leadership Conference earlier this year, the idea of doing a buddy chapter for the program year popped into my head. I spoke with our dean and the rest of our board about this idea, and they let me run with it. The virtual world in which we live means that geography isn't a factor. We can buddy with nearby chapters anytime. This is an opportunity for the Guild to branch out and really connect with each other, something that is vital to the future life of both chapters and the Guild as a whole. Okay, back to the buddy chapter idea. I had a chapter in mind, the Central Maryland chapter. This chapter came to mind because of a close connection with their immediate past dean. Like Fairfield West, the Central Maryland chapter is both small and located outside of a metro area. It made sense that we choose them as our chapter buddy. 2 smaller chapters working together to do the work of one is perfect. You're sharing the weight, meeting more goals, and hopefully creating some fresh programming ideas, not to mention the networking and relationships that are built. I believe this model is easy to create, but communication is key. I believe it's beneficial to create a point person willing to handle the initial hurdles and keep communication flowing. and form a new program committee that is comprised of members from both chapters. Set goals, and again, communicate, and then get moving and make it happen. Our goals are to meet regularly, create engaging and meaningful program options for this year, and see how we might be able to continue our relationship with each other even when we begin to take steps outside COVID tide.
Hello and welcome to Muskegon, Michigan, home of the Muskegon Lakeshore chapter of the American Guild of Organists. My name is Michael Match, and I am currently serving as Dean. Like every organization, we were striving to create some digital content for our members, and we figured if we had to use the camera, we might as well bring audiences where they could never go in person, such as into the organ chambers, down to the blower room, and high above the pipes, on a virtual organ crawl featuring some of the area's instruments. With just one camera, a drone, and the guidance of our local experts in organ tuning and maintenance, we were able to capture some very interesting aspects of these instruments. Here are a few short clips.
Right now we're inside the organ chest, and Austin is unique in a sense that they're built in such a way that you can actually physically go inside the organ and work on it.
My name is Guy Vanderwegen. I've been working with pipe organs for approximately 46 years.
Well, welcome to St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Muskegon, Michigan.
That is the 4-foot clarion, and that is also a shared stop in the pedal. And further over this way is the top end of the pedal board.
Hello AGO, my name is Alex Chacon and I'm a member of the AGO Columbus Chapter Executive Committee. We wanted to tell you guys a bit about one of the events that we have coming up. We were toying around during one of our recent conference calls with ways that we might be able to bring our members back into the fold with a sort of gather around the table feel event. And someone mentioned the idea of hosting a virtual game night. And being a game designer and programmer myself, who, I consider myself pretty tech savvy, and also having done event management and production for the Grammys, I thought that this would be a great opportunity to combine all of my skills and really just try to spread some joy as we're coming out of this pandemic. I know it's been a very trying time for a lot of people this past year. So the concept of the event is it's going to involve everyone going into a single main Zoom meeting at the beginning and the end, maybe the first 15 and last 15 minutes for our annual members meeting where they'll get to vote on important issues for next year's agenda. And then in the middle, they'll be split into smaller Zoom meetings of 6 to 7 people. And we're actually sorting them in kind of a unique way. My old boss at the Grammys used to say that the best way to have a successful event is just to make it a party. So keeping that in mind, we decided that, and also to keep the spirit of getting everyone to meet new members within the Columbus chapter, we're having everybody send in a drink choice actually before the event, and then that's how they're going to be sorted into those smaller 6 to 7 person Zoom groups. We hope it's a great smashing success, and we'll let you know all about it whenever it's finished. Again, thanks so much for taking interest, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's not the end of it. We have 2 more people that are going to be telling us a little bit about what they're doing, and they are here with us. So first, I'd like to introduce Chris Farrow, who is the Dean of the East Carolina chapter. Chris, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. I hope everybody can hear me okay. As Elizabeth said, I am the Dean of the East Carolina American Guild of Organists chapter. That's everything east of Raleigh, pretty much. And one of the ideas that we had basically was just to start bringing our chapter back to life, which Elizabeth really helped with when she visited us. How long ago was that? Maybe, gosh, a year and a half now?
It was. It was a
Gosh,
long
a
time
year and a
ago.
half ago, a long time ago. We really just wanted to focus on bringing the chapter back together. And then, of course, COVID hit, and that was my first time as the dean. So I was really relying on everybody to kind of come up with some ideas. So I first and foremost want to say that this was not my idea. It was my treasurer and sub-dean's idea. They take all the credit for this. We wanted to do a sort of where are they now series. And the only criteria was to have members who aren't members anymore, but have moved away either for school or for personal reasons. And we, especially school, we wanted to have students who have just graduated or have, as I think some of the information says that was sent out, doctoral information, dissertations and things like that, to bring them back and show the current chapter members where all of these people are now and the great things that they've gone on to do. We've approached Jordan Prescott, who's a big wig right now, to come back and do a concert for us, and some other ECU graduates to come back and just tell us where they are and show us the incredible things that they're doing. And that's our Where Are They Now chapter series.
Thank you, Chris. Well, I can't wait to hear more about this. I think that's a really clever idea. And
It's
something that
it's still in the formative stages right now with everything going on and everything being virtual. It has been more difficult than we thought to plan recitals and things like that, especially with the students that we've contacted. But we are working very hard to get some people, and we hope to have something done next month or in June.
excellent. Well, we'll look forward to promoting that on our online programming.
Thank
So
you very
last but certainly not least, I want to introduce to you, and many of you know him, Eric Burke, who is the executive assistant at the AGO, but who you may not know is also the treasurer of the Brooklyn chapter. So Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Eric Burke, and I serve as treasurer for the Brooklyn chapter. Before being elected treasurer, I served as sub-dean and also directed a 2015 pipe organ encounter for the chapter. One of our former deans, John A. Wolf, began participating in our chapter as a member in around 2012 or 2013 and was soon invited to join our chapter executive committee. He made a proposal that we start a scholarship program for organ majors, which began to be formulated while we were presenting our pipe organ encounter in 2015. His and the chapter's thinking was that if we're going to continue to attract current and future generations of organists, we needed to provide young organists with what they need: performance opportunities, financial help, skill training sessions, and the chance to interact with other organists. Named for a recently deceased respected member of the chapter, the Brooklyn chapter's George Matheson Scholarship Competition has now been held 5 times starting in 2016. Since that year, the chapter has given scholarships to 12 young organists totaling approximately $10,000, with most of the money coming from benefit concerts, individual contributions, and corporate matching gifts. 2 organists under management performed recitals in Brooklyn presented by the chapter, and concert proceeds were donated to the fund. We were forced to cancel one day before the 2020 competition, but were able to safely hold the competition in person in March 2021. Scholarship prize recipients have included the 2015 POE attendee Samuel Kufuor Afriye, who is now an organ scholar at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine here in New York City, and students like Samantha Sheff, who first had her lessons with her professor Renee Lupret at Rutgers University in the 2015 POE. Winners were enrolled at local universities and conservatories in our region while competing, and they were organ majors while competing, such as Syracuse, Rutgers, Yale, Juilliard, and the Curtis Institute. Each fall since 2017, we have presented the prize winners from the previous spring in an evening concert in the fall with a reception following, with donations collected at the door supporting the scholarship fund. Over the past 5 years, we've had more organists under 30 than ever before serving on our chapter executive committee, performing in chapter programs, contributing articles to the chapter newsletter, and in the case of former young organist John A. Wolf, starting a scholarship fund competition and serving as dean just after turning 30. The recently announced Year of the Young Organist is a wonderful opportunity to include young organists in your chapter, but part of that program's success is incumbent on chapters to provide these people the chance to benefit from local programs and serve in chapter leadership. The Brooklyn chapter has certainly benefited from not only the involvement of younger organists, but also in having something very worthwhile to devote our energies.
Thank you. Thank you. Eric. And I had the pleasure of attending their board meeting last week, and it's wonderful. They have a lovely young organist that's chairing their nominations committee now. So they're really committed to bringing these young people in and training them in leadership roles. So Connor McMains is with us, and it looks like there are no questions in the Q&A. However, there is, Connor, if you take a look at the chat box, there may be a couple that are there.
Yes, so there is one question in the Q&A before we get to the chat box from William to Ron. Ron, William is wondering if you encountered any copyright issues, and if so, how you dealt with those.
Yes, thank you. We addressed that right at the very beginning with the artists and those who were playing, that the music would be available. How do you put that? Music could play earlier music rather than later, more contemporary music, so that we wouldn't have to deal with copyright issues. Our last meeting on Saturday, we discussed that, and I think for the future, we're going to have to talk about also including in the budget the possibility of having to pay, copyright music, and have that taken care of well in advance.
Thank you, Ron. We have another question. This is from Wayne Peterson for Laura Russell. Laura, did the Achievement Award mentors receive a stipend? And if so, was it paid by the chapter or by the students?
Hi, thank you for that question. The AGO regulations stipulate that that this be all free of charge, that there not be any stipends paid to the mentors. They set up a mentor system within your chapter to work with the students on the Achievement Awards. And so all of our mentors volunteered their time. But it's a great question.
Thank you.
So we actually didn't need to establish a budget for the Achievement Award test because nobody was paid.
And then one final question I have for Michael Match regarding the drone usage. Did you have any trouble organizing or dealing with using a drone inside any of the churches? I know that's something that a lot of churches might kind of get bug-eyed at. I know mine would probably. And so did you have any trouble like dealing even with just administration or clergy or anything like that regarding flying a drone around inside the church?
Luckily, no. Permission was granted from all the churches. We did have one of the churches that had problems with the drone staying still enough, but we didn't take the drone inside any of the chambers because that was just way too tight. All of the footage with the drone is up through the nave of the church or looking down on any of the casework, things that people can't see normally. But actually, Phil Konzik is my colleague, and he can tell you why it didn't work in one of the churches.
So the drone uses GPS to hold steady, and this one church was fine on one end, and when I ventured across to the back of the church, the brick got thicker. The stone on the outside of the church got thicker because there's some exterior features, and it blocked the GPS signal. So we had a panicked moment trying to get the drone down to the ground, and it landed fine without hitting anything. But it was a little dicey. You gotta check that one out before you do it.
So Philip, you were the pilot of the drone, is that right?
Since it didn't hit anything, yes, I was the pilot of the drone. I would have handed that off to somebody else's responsibility if it did.
Okay, that's good. Did y'all go outside of the chapter for editing, or did y'all do that inside?
I did it myself.
You did it yourself?
Yep. Using freely available DaVinci Resolve, which is a program that has a free version that is very, very robust.
Okay. We have another question from Eileen, who is asking Michael Match, can you comment on your chapter purchasing a chapter license, adding to your budget, purchasing a copyright license?
Yes, this actually goes along with what Ron was saying. We we didn't want to restrict our performers to public domain music. We're having an upcoming members recital that will be virtual as well. And so following the advice of Brenna Cronin, who's the manager of One License, we purchased a license for our chapter, which covers over 200 publishers. Many of you maybe already have that for your churches, for your services. But a lot of that stuff is covered there too. And so we added that to our budget to accommodate upcoming recitals and the members recital that we're having soon. And so we think that that's a good way to make sure that we're doing everything legally.
Great. Have another question here. This is for Melanie. Where did you get the organ that you're moving, and how are you transporting it?
Thank you. That's a great question. So we actually have a member in our chapter who he rents organs, and so he rebuilt an organ, and this is kind of its maiden voyage, and so he's using it as a way to, it's kind of dual, to let people know that it's available to rent. He's letting us use it free of charge right now. And he'll be one of the performers. He's a theater organist, and so he's got all the bells and whistles. And he's going to transport it for us. So he has a trailer and he's going to move it. We're going to move it into the church for 2 or 3 weeks so people can perform on there, can practice. And then we're going to move it into the park the day of the recital. And then once we see how this works, we'll work out something with him. We'll pay him to take it into a school or a park or something like that. So that's where we got the organ. And I have all the specs, and I have photos if you're interested. But yeah, it's just a rebuilt organ, electronic.
Thank you, Melanie. A question for Laura Russell. I think you're typing an answer to this, but it may be beneficial for everybody. Regarding the achievement awards, how did your chapter deal with the question of how much time the mentor should be expected to spend with the candidate?
Thank you. Yes, I was typing a response, but I'll give it live. That again is an excellent question. It didn't actually come up. It hasn't actually come up so far. However, I thought about it in advance, and we were going to kind of play it by ear. In 2 of the situations, the student's teacher was also the mentor, but in some of the other situations, the mentor was not the student's teacher. I think expectations should be discussed ahead of time, and if the student is only working with a mentor on one aspect of the test, that would be a lot less of a time commitment than if they were trying to do all of the achievement awards. I think it's 5 of them at once. So that's something that should definitely be discussed ahead of time between the mentor and the student, so that a reasonable accommodation can be made for a time frame. Excellent question, and didn't come up yet.
Well, Elizabeth, I think that's all the questions that I have received, both in the Q&A and in the chat. If anybody else has any, feel free to send those in before we finish up. But other than that, that's everything I have.
Do any of the members of Condax have any questions for the people that they were in contact with that you didn't get to hear today?
Wayne, why don't you ask your question you just put in the chat?
So I'm wondering if Michael or Phil could speak to how was your video disseminated, and did it receive many hits, or was it on a public channel, or who saw it? Who was your audience?
Actually, all we have released is a preview because it's not completed yet. We were working more heartily on our members recital that will be on April 30th. And we created simply a YouTube channel for our chapter so that it can live there, and looking towards the future of probably having to do more things on a digital platform, that it's good to have a YouTube chapter in our name, and it will stay there. And of course, we're going to link that to our website. And also the churches that participated in that organ crawl will be invited to share that through their social media and their websites, so that hopefully we have all kinds of cross-referencing, and the members of those churches, even if they're not AGO members or particularly organ enthusiasts, maybe they'll find it very interesting to see their own church in a different light, or their instrument, and maybe get some more support for the organization.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question for Alex, because I think this game night just sounds like so much fun. And I might just have to submit a drink order and see if I can play along with you. Was this, how did this come? Was it out of the blue? Did you just sit down and have a brainstorming session? You know, how did you, I'm just curious to hear about it, a little bit more about it. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I always forget about that. It came up organically during just one of our normal chapter meetings for the Columbus chapter, which we use Zoom calls for those as well. We were talking about, our dean, Rebecca Abbott, was talking about the members meeting and how we'd have to do it virtually so that we could ensure a safe environment. And we were just trying to think of some way that we could turn it into, like, you know, a bit more of a fun event. Both, you know, because a members meeting could maybe turn a little stuffy, especially a virtual one, and then also just because we want to try to sort of welcome people back into the fold as we come to the end of all these COVID restrictions, hopefully. And they had done game nights before in previous years. Of course, these were actual physical game nights. But it just sort of very easily clicked for me because I've done quite a few virtual game nights during the pandemic. And like there's actually a weekly one that my wife and I participate in. And so, you know, when it was just mentioned that we're going to already be doing a virtual meeting, and then also we are trying to find a way to bring back the game nights that we used to do, I just thought, oh, hey, why don't we just combine them into one? Or I don't know if I was the one that originally actually suggested that idea, but I quickly was like, oh, well, we do this, my wife and I do this every week, so I could definitely host it. And then, you know, as far as how to get everybody into groups, we knew that we didn't want people to self-select, because then they would probably just pick everyone that they already knew and just get into groups with their friends. And then, like I mentioned in that video, I thought of my my old boss from the Grammys advice that the best way to have a successful event is to just make it a party. So I thought, what if we, you know, had a tasteful, so to speak, use of alcoholic incentives. Or not, if people don't drink, that's fine. They can use soda water or whatever they want. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I just, it all just kind of came together on one of our member, or not member, just our normal meetings. And we just went from there.
Thank you. Well, this is.
And of course you can attend.
Did you want to say something else?
I was just saying, of course you can attend, by the way.
Okay. Oh, good. All right. I'm signing up.
What's your drink choice?
A very dry vodka martini.
Excellent. I'll put it down.
As I think a lot of these people know. But, you know, you got my wheels spinning, because I've been wanting to do something for chapter leaders. And I'm thinking maybe we could do something in the format of a Jeopardy. I don't know quite what, but I may be following up with you, Alex. And
okay.
Comdax, this might be kind of a fun project for the future, because I do think that the more that we can engage our members, whether it's at the chapter level or the national level, the better off we're all going to feel and connect with each other. So I think it's a super idea. And in fact, I think all of these ideas are just extraordinary and passionate and caring and innovative. And we are lucky now to have our counselor for membership with us, Vicki Schaefer. So Vicki, if you would like to say a few words, I know we'd love to hear from you.
Sure, thank you. So sorry I couldn't be here at the beginning to welcome all of you, but it is so good to have all of you with us. And I don't know, Elizabeth, if you did this, but I want to thank the Comdax committee. So if you're on the Comdax committee, could you wave so we all know who you are? You know, one of the best parts about being able to serve on national council, obviously, is to get to, you know, kind of meet this way with all of you and everybody else across the country. But working with a committee like the folks who are on Comdax has been such a joy this past year. They have great ideas and are constantly coming up with new ones. So it's great to work with all of them. So thank you to all of you for what you've done. And I think as organists, we're creative people and we're flexible people. I think the pandemic has kind of, as you've heard from all these great ideas, has kind of given us maybe even more freedom to kind of be creative and think of how things are going to look on the other side of the pandemic as we come out of this. So as we reemerge into the new normal, let's be creative and, as always, care about one another and share ideas. But thank you for being here. And Elizabeth, thank you too. And Eric is our staff people. Thanks for all you do to kind of help shove us into the future here. Sometimes gently, sometimes not, but that's okay. So thanks for all of you for being here. And Alex, I would also like to put my drink order in. Give me one of what Elizabeth is going to have. I prefer no olives though with a twist, but that's.
I'm the same way.
Excellent. Okay.
I'll write that down.
Okay, write that down. Okay, so I'll be in touch. All right.
Oh, actually, since it is, I should probably have said this, since it is a virtual meeting, the groups are specifically for organizing. Obviously, we're not going to, send drink deliveries to every so you can concoct whatever you want.
It's a BYO. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Bring your own organ, right?
Right.
Oh, it's very clever. Well, thank you, Vicki. And I want to thank Wayne Peterson, who has chaired this committee, and really all the contacts. It's been such an honor to serve you this year. We've had fun. And I think what Vicki said about even during this time, it's really forced us as all of you here to think outside of the box of what we can do to support our members and stay connected and stay engaged. So thank you to the Comdacs, and I want to thank you to all of the panelists for putting together your beautiful videos, but as well for taking time out of a busy day to come and participate live with us. So I really just want to thank you so very, very much. And I would not be able to leave without at least promoting next week's webinar, which is, yes, a week from today, same time, Monday at 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. And I know this is one, we have gotten so many requests for this. So I know there are going to be a lot of chapter leaders that are going to want to sign up for it. It's being presented by the AGO Technology Committee, and it is the do-re-mis of website design. So they're really going to go through how you design, what content you should put on it, who needs to be updating it. I've seen some beautiful chapter websites, and they're gorgeous, but the material is outdated. So we've got a team of experts that are really going to go through this, and I look forward to you attending that. The following Monday, we have another webinar being presented by the Task Force for Gender Equity on robust chapter scholarships. And then the following, Thursday, May 6th, John Dixon, who is AGO's treasurer and counselor for finance, is going to present There Must Be 50 Ways to Raise Some Money. I was almost going to say 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, but that's a different song. But anyway, he, I'm sure, has got more than 50 ways to look beyond the walls of your chapter. So we really do have some exciting webinars coming up. And again, thank you everyone for being here today. Stay safe, God bless, and I hope to see many of you back here next Monday. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.